After Catnap flung Ash, Poppy, and Kissy down the gaping, lightless pit, I was certain we wouldn't survive the bone-shattering drop. But somehow, by some twisted miracle, we landed on a mountain of discarded plush and broken plastic, our bodies battered but alive. The air down here was thick and wet, stinking of burnt fur and old blood. And as we dragged ourselves up, I realized we were getting closer to the prototype, the heart of this nightmare.
Poppy, are you okay?
I croaked, voice echoing in the cavernous dark. She nodded, but her eyes looked haunted, glassy, reflecting the flickering emergency lights above. I scooped up her doll frame and perched her on my shoulder. Her little arms clung to my neck. I told her she looked adorable, like the kind of cursed toy you'd see in a haunted antique store. Truthfully, I'd always wanted a Poppy doll, before I knew the truth about this place. She giggled, a nervous, hollow sound that bounced off the factory walls. We kept moving, deeper into the belly of this accursed toy factory, the place where orphaned kids are chewed up and spat out as monstrous playthings. Every surface was smeared with grime, dusty with forgotten memories and sticky with something far worse. Poppy whispered that there were other good toys out there, ones who remembered being human, ones who still had a soul. She said we were heading for a place called Safe Haven, a sanctuary for toys who refused to become monsters. Kissy, our big, pink, huggable monster friend, suddenly tensed, her stitched lips curling back to reveal rows of needle teeth. She hissed at something unseen, a shape slithered just beyond the edge of the flashlight's beam. Oddly enough, with my freakish companion stalking beside me, I actually felt safer here, in this hellhole, than out in the open. Eventually, we stumbled across a rusty train car, its windows smeared with what looked unmistakably like blood. It would take us to the prison, the part of the factory where they used to lock up bad toys, before the hour of joy. That was the night the toys revolted. That was when the screaming started, and the real bloodbath began. We clambered aboard, and the moment the doors slammed shut, a battered TV fizzed to life in the corner. Static gave way to a single, enormous eyeball, staring right at us. The doctor's voice oozed through the speakers, cold and warped.
Well now, this is an interesting turn of events.
Poppy's face twisted with rage.
What the hell do you want?
She spat, her voice shaking with old pain. She hated the doctor more than anything. He was one of the ones who'd turned children into these nightmares, who'd made them scream and beg and break. But now, he was just a ghost in the machine, a digital monster, uploaded by the very people who'd once worked beside him, desperate to be rid of his cruelty but unable to truly kill him. The train screeched to a halt at the prison.
Come on, we're almost there.
Poppy whispered, her voice barely audible over the grinding metal. As we stepped off, the shadows thickened, and suddenly, a horde of toys shambled from the darkness, every one of them mutilated, stitched together from the corpses of children and the scraps of discarded plush.
Where do you think you're going?
Came a voice like rusty nails. Freaky Freddy, a monstrous parody of Freddy Fazbear, lurched forward, his fur matted with dried blood and one glass eye hanging by a wire.
Hey now, no need to be scared. How about I make you laugh forever?
Cackled a clown toy, Crazy the Clown, his painted smile splitting his face in half, exposing rotten gums and splintered teeth.
Ew, gross, I can barely look at that thing.
I muttered, bile rising in my throat.
Don't worry.
Poppy said, though her own voice trembled. My hand shot to the knife I kept for emergencies, and I slashed at the clown's outstretched arm, slicing off a 3-fingered hand in a spray of stuffing and black, reeking blood.
That's not very nice. How about a good laugh while I rip your limbs off?
Crazy the Clown shrieked, lunging at me, jaws unhinging in a way that defied nature, ready to swallow me whole. His clammy fingers closed around my throat, but before he could bite, Kissy barreled into him, jaws snapping shut on his head. With a sickening crunch, she tore the clown's jaw clean off, sending it skittering across the filthy floor. The rest of the mutilated toys swarmed us, their screams a cacophony of agony and rage. We fought like animals in the dark, blood and stuffing flying in every direction. But there were too many, dozens, maybe hundreds, each one more twisted than the last. In the chaos, I spotted a switch on the far wall, half hidden by dangling wires and torn posters. I grabbed Poppy, her tiny body trembling in my grip, and hurled her over the mob. She landed, rolled, and yanked the switch. With a thunderous roar, the floor dropped out from under the monsters, and they plunged into a grinding pit of whirring blades. The screams that followed were inhuman, shrill, desperate, then mercifully silenced as blood sprayed up through the cracks. I snatched up Poppy and we ran, the smell of burning stuffing and blood clinging to our skin. The closer we got to safe haven, the stronger the stench of smoke and char grew. When we arrived, our last hope was already gone. Safe haven was in flames, the charred remains of toys slumped in the ashes. Doey the Doman, our friend and protector, was nowhere to be found.
No!
Poppy sobbed, her voice just a ghost of a sound.
We have to keep moving. We'll avenge them.
I promised, the words tasting like ash. We wandered through endless halls, each one more warped and bloodstained than the last, until at last we reached the doctor's lair. The walls were lined with blinking computers and monitors, all displaying twisted images of children and toys, agony looped on repeat. In the center of the room, a grotesque brain floated in a glass jar, pulsing and twitching as cables snaked out from its base. Robots burst in, eyes glowing, metal claws slick with something red.
Well now, looks like you made it.
The doctor purred, his voice echoing from every speaker.
Wait, is he controlling these things with his mind?
I asked, dread filling my stomach.
Indeed. I can control everything in this factory, from the security cameras to these delightful machines.
The doctor replied, smug and inhuman. Poppy screamed.
What happened to Safe Haven?
The prototype? He butchered every last toy and burned Safe Haven to the ground.
The doctor said, almost sounding pleased.
I'll help you destroy the prototype, but you'll have to survive first.
He led us to the labs, where the prototype was rumored to be hiding. As soon as we crossed the threshold, alarms screamed, and the door slammed shut, locking us in with the stench of death and chemicals. From the shadows, a familiar shape emerged, Huggy Wuggy. I thought I'd killed him before, sent him plummeting off the catwalks, but now he was back, stitches bursting, blue fur matted with blood, eyes wild with hate. He slammed his fists against the door, howling for blood. Our luck had finally run dry. Huggy was coming, and there was nowhere left to run. Whatever happened next, this was it, the end of the line, the last stand in this haunted factory. We had to face the prototype now, or die screaming in the dark, just another story for the next unlucky soul who wandered into this place.